Friday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cafecito with Mr. Miami Real Estate. We're here again today with George Tuzet from Zoom Loans. In case you missed it last time, he just opened a new office in Dayland Mall. It's looking incredible. And just so you know, he's been doing this for over 25 years, always coming onto the show to provide some great knowledge.
Nice to be here.
So today we've already touched this topic a little bit, but we're going to go into it more in depth today, specifically about student loans, because there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of rumors out there that aren't particularly true. So we're going to clear the air about that for everybody who has student loans. So the number one question right now is, can I buy a house if I have student loans?
Sure. You can definitely buy a house with student loans.
Perfect.
The mere existence of a student loan is not going to get you a loan denial. There is math that needs to be taken into consideration and rules that need to be applied, but definitely you can buy a house while having student loans.
Perfect. Now, should somebody with student loans pay it off, or do they need to pay it off in order to qualify for a mortgage?
Well, you should never pay off any debt prior to buying a house unless you sit with a professional and go over your math, because you may be paying something off in vain where you don't need to.
Right.
And definitely in the case of student loans, sit with somebody and analyze the situation. It isn't always necessary to pay student loans or any debt off for that matter. Sometimes the math just works, and no sense in paying stuff off and parting with money that you could use for your closing.
So it's always come talk to someone like you, a professional, before they make any moves, before they read something online.
It could go either way. You could definitely buy a house and have student loan debt.
Perfect. Now, what exactly is the impact of the student loans when you're qualifying for a mortgage?
So the impact of student loans, it acts as any other debt might against your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
There are situations where we calculate student loan payments differently.
Okay.
It really depends on what kind of loan program you go with.
Okay, perfect. So that's actually the next question. I mean, should someone with student loans really be looking more of a conventional or an FHA product?
So FHA loan products we use them anytime there's debt involved. There is a threshold allowed. There's a 10% threshold allowed on FHA loans that allow for debt.
Okay.
So there is a special rule associated with student loans and FHA though. Most student loans are deferred, and if they are, you got to count 1% of the balance against the consumer, and normally that has a big impact on debt to income ratios. So FHAs and student loans don't get along very well.
Okay.
So typically we try to move the loan over to a conventional product if it still benefits the consumer term wise and all whatnot.
Perfect. So that actually carried over into our next question, which is what happens if the student loan is deferred? So do they have to bring it current, or can they?
So there's deferment is nothing you can do about it. It's deferred because you might be in school still, or the student is still not obligated to make payments.
Okay.
When that's the case, for FHA transactions, you have to count 1% of the total balance against the consumer's debt to income ratio. And on conventional loans, we can actually use income derived payment arrangements against their debt to income ratio, which are normally a lot lower than the 1% of the balance. So definitely they work much better with conventional loans.
So I mean, it's been very popular over the past couple of years. A lot of people with student loans have refinanced them from federal into private to get lower interest rates. So is there really a difference between the private and federal student loans when you're qualifying for a mortgage, or is it just counted as debt?
I don't know.
We're back. So now we have the answer.
I called somebody who knows a little more than me, and we got the answer. They're actually treated the same way 98% of the time. So student loans are a big deal when it comes to buying a home. We got to analyze them.
Perfect. So there you have it. That's everything we have for you today. If you have any other questions that weren't covered here about student loans, be sure to drop it below in the comment section. And as always, be sure to subscribe.